Um, Very basically, I had some maintenance to do on the library. This was a request coming from uh, the practically the only current consumer of the library. It's a full time job I work for. Basically, they asked to have a feature added uh, to the date time component, which was the first component I created for the library. I also created for them. Um, So yeah, we'll just get right to it. We'll talk about that, and then we'll have a quick talk about what we're doing, where we're going, all that kind of stuff. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. There we are. Okay, and now there we go. I like that. All right. So yeah, quite basically, they asked to just have a look at they wanted the ability to have a template around. The actual selector, the actual drop down selector, because what we need is we need a feature to where a customer, when they're in like a data grid situation where they have filter, they want to have either a single select date or they want to be able to select a date range. And that's the situation that we were trying to do over the weekend here. So that's actually gone out. It's been deployed and it's gone out. Version 092. And so here's pretty much the code. Like it's not going to, you know, surprise anyone or just make anyone swoon. But basically, here's the wrapper template. It's just basically a date time wrapper template. It's pretty easy, pretty basic. It's got just a single function in there that you can use to set the date selector, whatever the current date selector is. Um, in the future, we may add more to this wrapper, but for now, that's pretty much all we needed. So now we end up back up here. It's actually used down in here. This is how we, at least in the library, implement our templates. We always set up the template props, and here it is, the set date selector. And this one quite literally sets up, it makes a call to a state, an internal state function to set the date selection state. This was done in a previous task to actually allow the date selection state to be changed while the selector is open. Currently, originally the date time, the idea, or at least the understanding was, once the actual selection type is set, it usually doesn't get reset, because if you're going to want to single select, how why would you then want to change to a date range mode? Well, this is that one use case where having the ability to change from single to date range actually kind of is advantageous. Um, I won't go through that because I think it's pretty basic. It basically takes the selector property that gets passed in, it puts into a state and then allows that state to be changed. So, and this actually then utilizes that state being changed. So we've got the template props, basically just a basic function. We've got the default. Now this is used because if the user does not define a template, basically we just want to go ahead and allow the template to pass the most basic thing. Basically, to just render itself is all this is really doing. This is just saying render yourself. If the user passes a template, then they can override the template. Um, but the template does come like this. All of our templates come in have two parameters that are passed to it: the properties for that template, and the actual children, which is the actual piece that is rendered. And we will show you how the component library comes up with that here in just a second. But basically, here it is, props, and then you'll see the children here in just a second. And then we actually create a final wrapper template. The final wrapper template is basically, it determines if the user has passed in a wrapper template. If they haven't, then it goes ahead and uses our default that we just saw over here. We have this component within the library called a template outlet. It's very, very simple, but very, very powerful. The concept's pretty easy. Basically, it's a component. You pass it in the template, the props, and then the children are what gets passed back to the template. This is where the children comes into play. Using the very easy, the easy concept of the React children and then just passing children items into an actual component. We'll see that here right now. So the item here that actually the actual markup that gets passed to there is this entire markup here. This is all of our selectors and all the possibilities of the selectors and all of those kinds of things. So yeah, we've got, I'm not gonna go through each of the selectors and all that. That's not what this is about. But basically, this used to just be this without the template outlet around it. Now we just basically pass the template outlet around it and give the user the ability to take that template and to do other things with it. Now the user can reuse the children that's passed to it, but the user can also, if they wish, strictly just re-render the entire template from scratch. Like I said, this is an initial version, so we probably will end up adding more properties to this eventually, so the user can do that. Currently, since this is a user-specific request, we basically have fulfilled what the user asked for. We'll probably dig in a little bit later and actually make this a little bit more usable. But that's the idea, at least. If they want to enhance the selector, they can enhance the selector. Pretty basic. Like I said, I'm not gonna go through all the code there. It doesn't really matter. This is the logic that determines which selector is shown based upon user selections within the actual interface. So we will come back here and I will stop sharing this. Actually, let me go ahead and get the other item up. Let's see. Oh, yeah, here we go. And then we'll do run storybook. So we'll bring up our storybook here so we can take a look. Like I said, not really something that's going to just knock your socks off here, but the idea is at least, oh, there it goes. It did it on its own. All right. I'll get over to there and then I'll go ahead and share so you can see what I'm doing behind the scenes here. So I've added an actual test for this inside of Storybook. Here we go. Now we'll split the sharing here. We'll share that screen. There we are. Here's our screen. And I'll share. All right, and there we are. So this is our storybook here. Very, very simple. This is not pretty, but this gives us the idea of what we're trying to do. So basically, we have the basic date range selector here, the normal one that you would expect to see. And then you can click the date range and it changes. You don't have to close the selector changes. Now, I didn't make this to where it can go back and forth, but that's the concept at least. In ours that we're going to use it in, they have a toggle. They'll have a toggle and it'll probably be centered about right here. And they'll say it'll be single date range, so they can toggle which one they want to see. And then the user will be able to choose if they want to do a date range, and this is how the date range works. You make multiple selections, and there you go. It puts the selected date in here. Or if they want to have a single selector. So pretty basic. Nothing all that complicated. Like I said, nothing's going to knock anyone's socks off, but that's what I've been doing. That's what I did over the weekend. There was actually, like I said, there was a two-part to this, so that may not seem like a lot, but there was another part before this to actually set up the whole part of just taking in the property and allowing it to actually be changed in state instead of requiring it to be passed in as a new property. And that's why this couldn't happen before because it had to actually be passed in from above. Yeah, we want the user to be able to change it on the fly as they're there. So that is the request fulfilled. That's what we try to do. And if anyone ever starts using the library and one that has requests, we always want to make sure we do what we can to help them out and give them the best quality product possible. With that said, let's see here. Salim has taken on the headless conversion of the radio button component. Very good. Thank you, Salim. Um, and I'm going to be taking on a headless component this weekend as well. I'm going to be doing a live stream here pretty shortly after this. If anyone wants to see me coding live on a regular basis, I've decided to go ahead and use Twitch for that. So you can go to Twitch TV/ Brandon underscore Traven. So just my name with an underscore between it. So it's the same name I use on X, by the way, just at Brandon underscore Traven. So it's the same thing. I'm trying to keep branding similar so it makes it easy to find me anywhere you go. Um, but yeah, this will be broadcast after that, of course. So this will be reminding you that I did that. But that's pretty much it. Pretty quick, pretty simple. Hopefully next time will be a lot more show and tell. I'd like to show again the things we are doing with the headless component conversion and the way things are, how this is going to give us advantages in the way we're going to build the library in the future. So I made a post about that, and I'd like to kind of expand on what that meant. But I'd like you guys to come and actually look at live streams and get something out of the live streams. That's me just giving everything up. So that's pretty much it for me for now, and we'll talk to you guys or see you guys